Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, innovators, and tech enthusiasts from around the world, welcome to day two of Nasscom Future Forge 2023. I'm Nihal Pandya, delighted to stand before you today representing Nasscom as we embark on this remarkable journey of deep tech exploration and innovation. We hope you had an inspiring and informative day one where we'll delve into discovery and innovation. As we continue this exciting journey of building India's deep tech quotient, let's take a brief look back at what we explored on day one and set the stage for day two. Day one was all about discovery and innovation, where we explored the fundamental and applied research quotients for deep tech, delved into successful industry academia collaborations, and unlocked the power of open innovation. It was a day of groundbreaking insights and collaborative energy. We set the stage by understanding the critical role research plays in driving innovation and fostering entrepreneurship in academia. Nasscom Future Forge 2023, formerly known as Nasscom Product Conclave, has always been the epicenter of groundbreaking technological advancements and entrepreneurial brilliance. Focused on the theme accelerating deep tech product growth, the flagship conclave in its 20th year has completely rebranded to drive and showcase deep tech innovation in India. Today, our event is synonymous with the remarkable entrepreneurial ecosystem of breakthrough deep tech and innovative solutions developed, engineered, marketed, and solutioning internationally from India. The 3 days of virtual deep dive will be followed by the in person event on 7th and 8th November 2023 at Taj Yeshwantpur, Bangalore. You can look forward to an immersive experience like no other. Keynote plenaries, industry roundtables, networking opportunities, startup showcase at Innovators Hub, curated investors and enterprise connect sessions, boot camps, and the chance to meet PSU decision makers and academicians all come together with the indomitable spirit of from India for the world. This year, we have over 480 deep tech startups, 300 enterprises, 120 speakers, 50 showcases, 100 investors, and 1,500 delegates attending as the pioneering deep tech startups assume the spotlight, showcasing their groundbreaking innovations deeply rooted in advanced technology. Today, on day two, we shift our focus to product and application. We are stepping out of the research labs and into the real world, where deep tech innovations are translated into products that change lives and industries. We have an exciting lineup of speakers and thought leaders ready to share their insights and experiences. So get ready for a day filled with knowledge, inspiration, and the latest trends in the deep tech landscape. Let's make the most of day two and continue our journey of building India's deep tech quotient. Thank you for being a part of this extraordinary event, and let's make day two even more exceptional. Without further delay, I would like to invite Amol Kire, who will guide us through today's sessions. He is an engineer, product management, and pre sales leader with a focus on building and scaling enterprise products in analytics and middleware. He has worked in senior leadership roles at Tipco and Products Up and is currently working with deep tech startup ecosystem in India with a focus on mentoring startups on product management, go to market, partnerships, and enterprise sales. Over to you, Amol.
Thanks a lot, Nihal. So, as Nihal mentioned, today we will be building upon the foundations of research and innovation that we built yesterday and look at product management, scaling from zero to growth, as well as learning from the trenches of marketing and sales and some of the product leaders that we have later today. We also have some exciting sessions from speakers in how deep tech technologies have been applied by product companies to solve real life problems in health tech, agri tech, climate tech, and so on. So it's like a product and application day. So for the first speaker, I would like to introduce Narendra Bhandari for our topic Scaling Deep Tech from India. Narendra is the general partner at C Fund, where he oversees early stage investments in teams and founders who are building disruptive, scalable technologies in India. Often, deep tech product companies find it challenging to assess if there is a market for the innovations they seek to productize. Today, Narendra will give us his insights on the how to scale deep tech companies from India, what is the market like, and how to go about it. Over to you, Narendra.
Thank you, Amol. Let me just get my presentation up there on screen and we'll get started. All right, welcome everybody. We're at day two of Future Forge. I think Amol and Nehal have given you enough context of day one and what we want day two to sort of look like. Let me quickly give you a landscape of deep tech, right? I mean, Amol talked about, where do we stand, right? This is a survey which Nasscom had done and actually collected the data. So we're looking at thousands of startups, right? I mean, 27,000 tech startups of the 100,000 odd overall startups in the country. And over 3,000 have been classified as deep tech, and within that, almost 500, 485 plus, have been classified as inventive deep tech, right? Something which they're fundamentally trying to create sort of new. This data is important because, if I look at the deep tech, evolution over the last few years, and I'll talk about the deep tech club, um, it's quite significant to note that the amount of money these guys combined have raised, is running into over $3 billion, which at least from an investor perspective is one testament in terms of how good these startups are able to attract sort of capital. Now the current mix seems to be that 70 to 80% are in the B2B space, but I would hazard a guess that many of them are B2B and more to say B2C infrastructure, or what many of us call it B2B2C model also. So I think the point here is we've got a very vibrant deep tech landscape building up in India. I mean, I would say they're in our sort of early stages. Good, reasonable amount of funding, but we'll see how do we get this to scale. Now, within this context, Nasscom several years ago had launched what is called Deep Tech Club. I happened to be part of that journey from sort of pretty much day zero when many of us were brainstorming in one of our sort of product, team meetings. Today, after several years, I mean, I would say the status as presented by Nasscom is we've got 300 odd startups in this batch. The overall impact these startups have done is there's almost 13 Series A, 4 Series B plus, and several of them have gone through M&As, and about $200 million odd raised by these combined companies. What is also more important is there's almost 150 to 200 mentors active on the platform. Right now, these guys are volunteering their time to help you as a startup either get connections or get hiring the help, or find capital partners or debt partners, etc. So that's the additional power of the platform which you have as a startup when you get selected into sort of the deep tech club. Now, what's the composition of this club so far, right? You can see that there's a good 60% of these in the chart on your right, which are delving into the AI, deep learning space, vision space, and then the rest of them are distributed across robotics, cloud, blockchain, etc. Right now, they are also relatively well distributed across tier one towns. Tier two and tier three towns still form a smaller percentage, but within the tier one towns, you'll see the popular places, Bangalore, Delhi, Pune, etc., having a good Chennai, having a good mix of these startups. And excuse me, the verticals are also relatively well distributed, not just in the software and SaaS space, but ed tech, agri tech, clean tech emerging as a fast number. So if you guys haven't checked it out, go check out Nasscom Deep Tech Club, see what the benefits are, and more importantly, figure out what some of the others are doing as you go down deeper in your journey. Now, One thing which I wanted to talk about was I showed you a bunch of industry data. I also want to talk a little bit about what I have personally heard in the form of pitches just in the last few months, right? Now, this is my personal experiences, right? I mean, these are pitches I have heard directly, which give you a sense of how deep tech has sort of progressed. Just in the last probably month plus, I must have met at least 3 to 4 companies who are building rockets or trying to build rockets, who've tested engines, liquid engines, liquid fuel, solid fuel, different innovations in fuel. Some of them have put in an extra thrust in there, and the rockets they're getting the rockets to fly higher. And I would say the average age of the people within these companies is not more than 25, right? One example. Met some very interesting people in the retail who are combining AR. Well, a lot of people have done that in the past, but combining AR and getting it to be smarter using very interesting mix of AI and customized your combination of mobile platforms, in-store platforms to be able to give you a fantastic, sort of retail experience, right? All these which I'm talking about are pitches I've heard directly. People are looking at soil health, right? Soil health from different aspects, from a vantage point of the satellite taking images and trying to figure out, from a vantage point of a bunch of IoT devices within the field, trying to predict soil health, which has bearing on decision making in terms of what kind of fertilizer, what kind of water, and what kind of crops, etc. they should be sort of putting in, with a lot of deep tech technologies built in terms of that prediction. Now, we've all seen videos, pictures, visualizations of drones doing deliveries. Drones are doing deliveries in India, right? Um, and when you think of deliveries, don't just think of a food package being delivered to your house or your favorite mobile phone being delivered to your house. There are drones doing large scale deliveries, right? Over a 50, 100 kilometer distance. They're going from bigger warehouses to smaller warehouses. Most of the times beyond the line of sight, and carrying payloads up to 10, 15, sort of 20 kilos type of range. Some in pilots, some are actually doing commercial deliveries. I've seen very interesting examples of making driving safer. Driving safer, not just it's a combination of imaging, lidar, ADAS, and a bunch of other technologies, so that your driving experiences is safer than it was before. I was not a great student of electronics and waves and radars and stuff, but the number of companies I've met just in the last 2 months where people are coming and pitching beamforming technologies, better radars, cameras which can capture 7 to 8 to 10 kilometers worth pictures, using ultrasonic technology and improving manufacturing techniques. Just crazy amount of tech being used, companies being built in India, and helping many of the Indian customers and then overseas customers. Energy management, right? We've all heard in the past about IoT sensors and HVAC units and lighting and things, motion sensors, but now energy management is moving to a different level in buildings and factories, right? I mean, there are sensors which sit near meters and figure out the kind of load. There are predictive models being built in terms of consumption. There are imaging, which is a combination of people moving into the building, load on each floor, and then trying to figure out analytical models and actually help with saving and help companies move towards their net zero goals. Right? Enterprises are mining their data in a significant way, and I would say the most stark, some of the examples enterprises was how AI powered CRM solutions are coming up, right? These are not just bots giving you some answers. These are the ability to book online things, the ability to have voice recognition combined with AI, combined with languages, combined with logic of the business stepwise, integrated into the workflow of some of the enterprises to be able to offer their customers a better solution, right? Electric mobility, I can't even start to talk about how much, including some of our portfolio companies, how much electric mobility is moving forward. And this is not just in terms of people building better commercial vehicles or better drones or potentially better cars. It's just all aspects of the electric mobility, components, warehouse movement, port movement, battery management systems, cell management systems, swapping technologies, robotics use in swapping technologies, all kinds of elements, which are coming in. Several of these companies are relatively well funded. Imaging and AI, it's just endless list of use cases, which where people have come in and shown us pictures, right? Measuring objects, people for safety, for counting, for a variety of scenarios, combining traffic intelligence with pollution parameters, health parameters being scanned just on a mobile phone and helping with loan disbursement, helping with insurance disbursement, etc. Safety in the factories, safety at workplace, skill development, difficult skills being taught using imaging, using AI, predictability in arm movements, predictability in physical aspects. It's just phenomenal, right? As I said, I was part of the Deep Tech Club formation early on. When I see some of these things being played out, it's just heartwarming that we as a country and the startup ecosystem has moved significantly forward, which is awesome. Now, some of the challenges do remain, right? Are we scaling fast enough? Are we getting customers fast enough? What should we do? You'll hear a whole bunch of sessions throughout the day. I'll just spend a minute and then hand it back and talk about what potentially things you should probably look at, right? Um, every deep tech company I speak to, probably within a month or 2 months or so, I speak to somebody else who's doing maybe something similar or something slightly smarter or maybe even behind. So I push the founders to say, go deeper into your tech, of course, with a business context, so that you build a bigger moat, you build a deeper moat, you build a rich, and if you're pitching yourself as a deep tech startup, don't come to us or to other investors and just say, I'm integrating a bunch of APIs and building an AI solution, right? What is the tech which you're building up? What is going to be your differentiator with somebody else who's just got better programmers won't be able to do, right? You've heard enough of the AI stuff, unless you've been under a rock for a while. I think the question, as each one of us should ask, is what else can it do for me, right? As an individual, as a company, as an organization, as a society, because it is going to do stuff. Now, this is not just that you can write your document faster or write your code faster and respond to customers faster. All of that, and then you push yourself to say, what else? What else, right? What this will do to you is help you with point number one, which is integrate much deeper tech into sort of what you're doing. GTM, for the folks who don't know what this term means, go to market, right? Iterate, go to market, take your technology to customers. There's nothing like getting customer feedback. Everybody knows it. I meet enough founders, enough people who like, I'm still building my tech. Well, how many customers have you spoken to? Have you shown it? Have you piloted? Have you tested? And then once that's done, scale, right? And we'll have enough sessions during the day which talks about scaling. So do pay a lot of focus to the GTM, or get somebody in your team to just be obsessed about taking your sort of products to market. That's a mechanism of scaling, and then coming back to one and two, which is building deeper tech, maybe to help you scale faster. Winter, seasonal. I don't want to say anything more about it. Seasons change, scenarios change. Things will sort of improve. Network across the ecosystem. We tell this to people enough. Everybody knows it, but we see just evidence of not this happening. There's incredible amount of resources available to you. Deep Tech Lab was one example. Reach out to people, reach out to principals, reach out to mentors, and take help of networks so that you can scale on tech side and on the GTM side in a significant way, right? And some of the founders during the day will talk to you about how the value of the sort of network is to help scale your deep tech startup. I want to stop here and say, hey, you're going to have a bunch of fantastic sessions today. I think what you want to walk away is that the deep tech ecosystem is vibrant, it's thriving in terms of number of startups. And at the same time, we do continuously have the challenge of, can we scale it faster? Is there enough market for some of the things which you're building? There are questions in people's mind, is the funding. So there are enough evidence of these things improving, but you're gonna have to use your network to be able to sort of move forward. I think the ecosystem is just getting started, just in terms of value and funding which it will attract. Let me pause here, attend the sessions, give us feedback, and then I'll also put in a 1 minute plug for come to Nasscom's Future Forge in-person event if you can. I personally will be running a semiconductor panel, but there'll be fantastic sessions over the 2 day period. Look forward to seeing you all day over there, and enjoy your day two at Future Forge. Thanks, guys.
So thanks Narendra for that fascinating insights into how the Deep Tech Club has formed, but also how different startups that you see evolve from rockets to battery tech, enterprise CRM to imaging AI. And I'm pretty sure like a lot of our startups can take cue from that and see how they can explore the market in India and build for scale in the future. So thanks a lot. So, coming to our next session for the day, our next session is now how do you take and scale these various aspects of building deep tech products, but from a product management perspective. Often, deep tech they have longer cycles in terms of building research-oriented, differentiating product. There is longer market cycles, longer product development cycles. Finding a market fit for those products is a bit more challenging, managing the funds frugally, and eventually scaling the products. And that's where product management plays a critical role in the entire product life cycle for deep tech. Today, we have a distinguished panel who will discuss the various aspects of scaling different aspects of product management. Firstly, I would like to introduce Kaustubh Patekar. Kaustubh is the CEO of ProdZen, which focuses on product management consulting and training. Also, he's a mentor with our Deep Tech Club and has advised many of our deep tech product companies and startups in the Nasscom Deep Tech Club on various aspects of product management. He also writes prolifically on LinkedIn on different facets of product management. So, welcome, Kaustubh.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tapan Tripathi. He is the Chief Innovation Officer at Schneider Electric India, and Schneider being right at the forefront of electric mobility, battery tech, electric mobility. It gives us a very good enterprise manufacturing kind of a feel on how do you scale deep tech from those domains. So welcome, Tapan. Uh, our third speaker for the day is Vijay Kumar. Vijay Kumar C is the Vice President Software Engineering at the Global Capability Center of Walmart Global Tech India. And he can share like different aspects of being a GCC center, innovation center in India. How do you kind of manage different aspects of product management in building those products? So welcome all, and over to you for an engaging discussion on building product management for building deep tech products.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Amol, and thank you, Nasscom, for the opportunity. Um, we have about 20 minutes, and we'll try to keep the ball rolling. But before we do that, let me just frame the conversation, and then we'll do intros. So it was nice to see Narendra talk about how far deep tech has come in India. Though that discussion in general focused on startups. So I've been fortunate enough to be part of the Deep Tech Club for the last 4 years. So it's great to see startups in deep tech now doing not just AI and ML and more computing stuff, but also getting into space tech, building rockets, drones. Things when I studied aerospace engineering seemed only in the books, now are actually on the ground. So that's really exciting to see. And with that, we'll jump into our today's topic, and we'll talk about what does it take to actually build these deep tech products. I think Amol mentioned that it takes a while. Yes, that's indeed true, but that's also true for building any innovative products. And I've been part of building products for almost 20 years, most of it in software, a little bit in software hardware. And the last 8-9 years in India have been really eye-opening to see the kind of innovation that is happening. And in the last few years, the mantra has been, how do you build from India for the world? So that's where we will focus. And hopefully I can share some of my insights and learning in terms of what is happening in startups as well as large companies. So I'm glad to have Tapan from Schneider Electric and Vijay from Walmart, so that people don't believe that it's just the startups doing the deep tech. Yeah. So with that, I'll hand it over to Tapan. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about maybe some of the initiatives, one or two, and the biggest challenge you see in building deep tech, from your vantage point. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaustubh, and good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be part of this esteemed forum and discussing a very important subject like deep tech. As Kaustubh said, I'm currently the Chief Innovation Officer for Schneider Electric, which is a 40 billion global organization, and now highly focused on India as an area of development and also business. I have spent more than 30 years in development of products, so I'm more in a product space, which is product and solution for power distribution product and digitalization and doing all the kind of energy management area. And that has been my experience in both earlier in L&T and then Schneider. And now I look after the part of chief innovation where I focus on how do you really build these new technologies and be prepared. Basically, my idea is to create the roadmaps for both, the classical box three strategy roadmaps, not only looking for now and also for the deep tech war, which is going to be future. So that's why I'm a bit of, I know the challenges which you are facing in creating it. As we are into energy management and automation areas, deep tech plays a very crucial role, and we are looking forward to these areas to really invest on how do we improve our efficiency and also our offering or USPs to the customer. So this is what we were. Now challenges, as you rightly know, deep tech is an evolving area where the ecosystem is not ready in the country, whether it is in a policy or it is funding, anything which takes longer time. The kind of funding mechanism is not ready. The government of India support system is not as good as it is there in the Western world. And today there are lack of little bit of partnership happening between the academia, between the industry or the startups world. So how do we really create something which will be useful to the customer tomorrow, and we can create a value prop for tomorrow? Because this is not something where a customer will tell you do this or do that. How do you really understand the upcoming technology and find out that put it in your products to give a value to the customer where they will be ready to pay 5 7 years down the line is a challenge. So classic
Right.
voice of customer do not work. So my job is to see how do I, do outside in and technology bind them together to look for a future product. So this is the challenge which I see from a big tech point of view. I will add further in the subsequent discussion. I think
Certainly.
that's the
And you cheated. You added more than one challenge during the discussion. But like you rightly said, I think there are a lot of challenges. Certainly collaboration is a big challenge. Not having a direct voice of customer, having a long brewing period where you might start building today but see the fruits of it 4 5, perhaps never in some technology. So thank you for that characterization. I will hand it over to Vijay. Vijay, please tell us a little bit about what you are doing and some of the challenges you see. Let's keep it short so we can discuss some of the challenges and questions from the audience as well. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Okay, sure. Hello, everyone. This is Vijay. Thank you for the opportunity and I'm glad to be part of this panel discussion. So I'm with Walmart for last 4 years, working in the platform teams. Platform teams at Walmart, we do cover all the technology capabilities on the cloud. In the context of this session, deep tech, Walmart as a Fortune 1 company, our vision is save money so the customer can live better. Walmart always been a front runner in leveraging the deep tech product to our customer. So anything in the deep tech that has a customer touch point and has an impact to the customer life, yes, we are there to explore, innovate the business use cases, adopt and scale. Some of the challenges I would actually look at more from as a deep product tech, the life cycle is actually more into an early stage as a POCs or a kind of a pilot. Then we do a research and a development and then go into the adoptability market uh, kind of compatibilities and the growth. So where the Walmart actually where we play is actually once the early stage is done, because our core strength is actually solving the customer problem in the retail space, and we do it very passionately because going back to our vision. So some of the challenges that we look at it is actually how do we actually collaborate with a lot of startups who have actually kind of done the uh, the initial kind of R&Ds and kind of vetted out uh, the technology things. And once it is done, most of the time the startups wouldn't know how do you take it to the end customer, and that's where the Walmart plays a very significant role because we understand the domain, we understand the customers, we understand the industry really well, and we understand the grassroots level of problems. So when we collaborate with most of this technology startup companies, and we actually pilot together in terms of like how do we take it to the market, and then how do we actually scale it, because what we bring to the table is a scale, massive scale. And there are quite a few things that we have done it in the last couple of years. We will talk as we move forward.
Okay, great. Thank you for adding that. And I'll bring a little bit of startup perspective to this discussion, given that I have a lot of opportunity to interact with startups. I think the first challenge is not having enough capital. So if I, as a startup founder or somebody who works with startups, I look at the challenges. I see big companies are moving too slow. They have great ideas, but no execution. I want to execute faster, but I don't have capital, and I need the support of investors, of course, and I need the support of big companies. So that's the challenge. Of course, challenges which Tapan mentioned, in terms of collaboration with research academia, a little bit is happening. It's not that it's not happening, but that's too far removed from where I am. So my biggest challenge is getting enough money to build it out, and making sure I actually build the tech before I run out of money. What do you say to that, working in a big company, which the startup perception is, hey, you have unlimited funds, so, you can take your own sweet time and money to build it. I will have one of you respond to that, and then we'll take a slightly different question. Who wants to take it?
I'll take this, Kaustubh. It's not that big companies has a lot of money, but big companies do have money. What big companies do not have is the complexity in which they develop product, and hence the agility is missing. So my personal feel, and which is I'm now driving as my present role, is how do we partner it? So end of the day, the only solution is you have the big companies have the scalability advantage. They have the reach and scalability and also the fund. I think all the companies nowadays, we all have venture fund. We are skipping it separate for deep tech. So money is available. The question is, how do you get the right technology to partner with the startups, and finding out the suitable technology in which big companies feel they will get business tomorrow. So the forecasting of the right technology and finding out the right partner is the key. And I strongly believe that partnership is the key in success for tomorrow. Uncertainty is there, and hence a big company supported by a startups working together, bringing the agility and money is the solution. And that's where I believe in, and I would like to push. And we have tried in couple of cases in energy management, and we found success there. We tried in agri, we found success there. So I believe that is the way forward.
Great response, Tapan. I appreciate that, collaboration. And, I think you alluded to that even in your opening, that for deep tech to succeed, it's not just the collaboration between people who are innovating, whether large companies and startups, but perhaps also to include academia and research bodies to drive this. So that's a great point. And, I'd like to switch gears a little bit and go back to one of the challenges which we talked about earlier, which is, while a lot of this deep tech innovation is happening in India, most of the consumption for this deep tech is outside of India, right? And sometimes it's very challenging to build from India for the world when you are far removed from the customer. So I will pass on this question to Vijay, and then I will add, given he mentioned that, he's working out of India for Walmart. Of course, it has presence in India, but much wider presence in US and other countries. So why don't you tell us, how do you bridge that gap where you don't perhaps have direct access to customers, or some of the people who are working on deep tech may not have direct access or experience to the geography or economy for which you're building? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so there are, of course, two parts to it, right? One, working in a enterprise where we already have a presence in US and have the presence in India. Uh, the way we have actually structured our internal organization to make sure that we have a seamless connect to the business problems, business stakeholders. So multiple ways where we can actually establish the framework where building in India and taking it to the abroad or global market is a lot more easier. So if I actually take the second aspect of it, which is more of a startup, let's say it is not done as part of any of the larger enterprise. So if you look at a broader aspect of India is known for the digital factor, right? All of the GCCs, the world of GCCs, all of them are coming to India because globalization has definitely helped us, India, to talent and the product what we do today. And while we are looking to outreach outside India, the global consumer are also looking towards India, right? In terms of like what is that India has to offer in this space. And there are multiple ways to look at it, especially given more from the startup standpoint. One is actually the funding part. Like VCs are pretty much interested to invest in most of the Indian startup, and deep tech is something that's picking up really well. And this investment also bring in a lot of partnerships and connects. I think that's one part. The talent, we look at a local talent, especially for a deep tech. I would actually categorize multiple dimension to the talent. One who are on the job, one who are research academics, and people who are actually into this in the basic science. So we can always reach out to the lot of universities where you can actually get while building the product itself. Then the next is a partnership, again going back to the partnership, because industry leaders outside India, they know the space well, they know the customers well, they know the problem space well. So there are multiple partnership. As a Walmart, we have done it multiple at different stages of the product, right? One, it could be during the early pilot itself where we piloted it and then we have taken it to the larger market, or some of them is a co-creation model where we understand the concept, it is all the POCs done, how you want to work together. And then also specialized consulting in terms of giving the market information back to the organization. So one last thing that I would actually also add is the go-to-market partnership, right? This is very critical because that's where startups struggle because they need an outreach to customers. So established enterprises will have credible market presence. For example, if I have to, I can actually take at least 5 to 6 technologies, deep technologies that we are actually piloting, and at any point in time, we will have multiple things that we are piloting. For example, climate change is one thing that Walmart is looking at, and we are actually partnering with a company who's converting CO2 into yarn for cloth. So especially the piloting for the enterprise customers are a lot more easier, and partnering for a go-to-market strategy with those enterprises will definitely help to understand the needs, the regulatory constraint, and how do we actually compete in the landscape where
Sure.
the startup will struggle. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to make this about startup versus big company, but as most startups struggle in establishing any kind of partnerships, including signing paperwork with big companies. But we will not dwell on that for this discussion. But I'd like to come back to one fundamental issue, which I think both of you alluded to, which is sometimes, how do you actually define the direction for your product or initiative or company when sometimes it's unclear, when you will see success, and in some cases whether you will see success, right? So like Tapan mentioned, even large companies don't have unlimited funds, though of course you have more funds than a startup. So in the face of uncertainty, one of the things I see is that, in that kind of uncertainty, being able to understand your business problem becomes key, even more than technology. A lot of these initiatives are driven by people who are understand and excited about the technology, and sometimes that can be a hindrance to actually solving the business problem, because you may or may not need deep tech for it. Of course, there are a lot of fundamental problems for which innovation and new technology is required. So I'd like to get your thoughts on how do you balance that, right? So where you are, you're definitely excited about the technology, but you need to continuously keep an eye on the business case or problem, and then define an effort and investment of resources which might take a while. Yeah. Tapan, you want to take that kind of, because you are driving several such programs, why don't you share, how do you balance that out? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, this is a challenge. Product management of technology products is a challenge, and deep tech is a bigger challenge because of the uncertainty and the long drawn process. So, what we are doing it right now is, how do you do a better technology forecasting and understanding that what probably will be needed by the customer 7, 8 years down the line. So that's an activity one has to invest in. This is one we do. Secondly, then how do you create an ideal mix up between the mid-term, short-term, and long-term innovation roadmaps? I think this is what you try to do. We try to use the mid-term cases to support our long-term plan. Even if long-term plan, if I take 10, 2 may succeed, 8 may fail. But I need to have a strong mid-term. The only challenge which we face as an organization is in the existing product, how do you incorporate deep tech, and how do you put them in deep tech and still without much investment can make them useful to the market? I mean, that's a challenge, and that's why we are trying to do a different way, that any new product to be developed, a new solution to be developed, we need to make it scalable and adaptable, that should be with a minimal investment can be adapted to any new technology being coming out, so that you buy time for your 10%, 15% of investment, which is on a longer run process like deep tech. So what we do in our organization, we balance between these three boxes, a classical three box strategy, and then see how do you fund it. So we do a 10, 30, 60 kind of funding. But my today challenge is designing a product which can be adapted very fast and scaled up very fast to adapt new technology. I think that's the solution. Yeah, otherwise, nobody will have the patience.
Okay, very nicely put. I appreciate the three box strategy. And we'll switch gears, and I want to talk a little bit about you know a lot of deep tech, like you said, is hard because the uncertainty is greater, and perhaps that goes to a even higher level when you talk about some things and happening in agri-tech or space tech, or like one of the examples which Vijay gave is getting rid of CO2. So I'll give this first to Vijay. Talk maybe very briefly about some moonshot innovation that you're working on and the challenge and opportunity you see. Just briefly share us what is it that's going on. Yeah.
So I'll actually pick it up from the last one where we have piloted and adopted multiple deep tech just to give the industry aspect of adoption. We talked about a climate control. So another one, robotics technologies in our distribution and fulfillment centers. So what we do is actually we take one or two stores or a distribution centers and we start automating and kind of look at what it is actually bringing to the table. And every tech adoption that we do, just connecting the marketing aspect of any innovation that we do, we actually look at it is, are we passing on all of this innovation to the customer at the end of the day, our stakeholders, our shareholders, and basically looking at, because what really matters for us is actually to make customer, if is he actually getting benefit out of it, especially with respect to going back to our vision. So the other one that we have actually working very closely with one of the organization is under drone delivery for the last mile shipment, and it is actually in pilot, and we are covering area by areas and moving with the drone delivery. It is fairly successful in what we
Okay.
want to accomplish.
Sure.
So,
Great. I
yeah.
think, sorry, we have a minute left,
Oh,
and yeah.
this is
So,
yeah. I think go
Virat,
ahead.
I'll,
We're
I'll,
getting there.
I'll take 30 seconds to summarize, and Tapan, you can have the parting thoughts. So great discussion. It's while it may look like it's easy for big companies, it's not. And the approach to innovation is systematic. It's always uncertainty. So staying focused on customer use cases and business makes sense. And it's also somewhere to accept that not every initiative will succeed. Uh, so great. I'll pass it on to Tapan. Please share your parting thoughts, and then we will wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you, Kastub. I think there's no way out but to really invest on deep tech and remain invested. I believe that the country is in the right cusp of really creating the ecosystem. And even if sometimes we don't build the absolutely a new tech breakthrough technology, I think India is poised to actually use them and create, validate, and do the POCs for the world. And I strongly believe India can be the place where you can try it out the new technology and expand it globally. And that's an opportunity for us because we have the talent, we have the people. I am a strong believer of it, and we go forward. And I'm sure technology is going to make a difference, especially on the climate side of the story. It's a great
Sure.
story to build it.
Yeah, I really like the closing thought that as a country, as an economy, we have an opportunity because we have the talent which is willing to learn. And if we can get some of these partnerships right, some of the collaboration between industry, academia, perhaps some regulation which is friendly to innovation, which is in the pipeline, I think that should be a great decade and more for companies from India to build deep tech. So with that, I'd like to thank you both, Tapan and Vijay, for joining us. Great discussion. Really nice talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Kaustubh, and thank you, everybody.
Hey, thanks, Vijay. Thanks, Tapan and Kaustubh. Right, like for me, the really good takeaway was that since we have this convergence of GCC's services, other many talent in India, we can really look at industry startup collaboration and then see if we can do some pilots from here in a partnership mode, establish the credible market, and then go to market along those lines. So thanks for that fascinating discussion. Now we have like introduction for the next session today. So in our next session, we will be having taking this product management thought further, right? And see how we can actually scale products from zero to a market fit, from zero to hero. We have with us three panelists who have each kind of taken their product in some shape or the other, found a good market for it, and then scaled that product into to success, right? Like, firstly, I want to introduce Rupa Jayaraman. She's the Chief Technology Officer at Odessa, where they have scaled a deep tech platform for asset financing, so for financing auto loans, things like that, right? And finding out how we can use deep tech around that area. Our second speaker for the day is Sonal Goel. She's the founder for Zing AI, where they're scaling the products based on deep tech, based on data quality, data matching, pattern matching, finding relationships between different entities, and so on. And they have scaled that product to success. Our third speaker for the day is Maithili Ramesh. She's the co-founder and CEO of Next Wealth, where they have scaled deep tech services with a very unique model. It's a very unique model of distributed service delivery with hubs in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and how you can build a distributed deep tech service delivery capabilities from those cities, right? Such as Salem, Bilai, and so on. So over to you, my fellow panelists, on zero to hero, navigating the deep tech journey to product success. Thanks Rupa, Sonal, and Maithili for that engaging session. It was fascinating to learn how different aspects, right, of scaling the product come together, whether it be clearly defining products, customer experience, through also having user-friendly products, right, that are easy to use for the end user. It may be complex as a deep tech product. It should be very easy to use as an end user, as well as having the right talent and validation from human in the loop. So it was a fascinating discussion on how to scale products to the next level. For our next session, we have Raghu Dharmaraju. He's the CEO at Art Park at ISC, which is advancing robotics, autonomous systems, and AI through translational R&D and tackling areas of intelligent healthcare and automation. Raghu also has vast experience in combining the best aspects of different ecosystems in startups and industry, research academia, or government for innovation driven impact. He has also created digital public goods and data infrastructure around combining and leveraging language, healthcare, and other data to create AI for social good or social impact startups and impact for India at scale. So let's listen to Raghu on his insights on multilingual societies and AI, and what can we learn from India's and his experience in building this out. Thanks a lot, Raghu, for that engaging discussion and insights on not just kind of how we can use AI, but also use it in an inclusive and equitable fashion to kind of make sure that we are inclusive and we include the entire country in the delivery of digital public goods. So, coming to our next session here, our next speaker is going to switch from digital public goods to the topic of intelligent medicine and public health, digital health. Our next speaker is Gitanjali Radhakrishnan. She's the founder and managing director at Adovio Diagnostics. And let's learn from her experience in leveraging deep tech for improving diagnostic and care outcomes and also kind of ushering a era of intelligent medicine in digital delivery and often at the part where especially quality care is often not available in low resource small towns. So let's hear from her how they leverage the power of deep tech to improve diagnosis and care in the last mile of the healthcare delivery system. So over to you, Gitanjali.
Yeah, thanks, Amol. I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Gitanjali, founder of Edivo Diagnostics. So Edivo means to help or to aid people. Um, 8 years back, when I founded the company, the reason was very simple. I come from a humble background. I lived in the hills all through my early childhood days, and access to healthcare has always been 100 kilometers away. So I'm a bioengineer by background, and when I founded the company, I was deeply impacted by one problem, which is the problem of misuse of antibiotics, which are leading to amputation, especially for wound care patients. Like the example of a patient over here who's a farmer who's been treated with antibiotics for more than 8 years for a simple fungal infection, and it was misdiagnosed at a very early stage in his nearest hospital. So, which is why we founded the company, and we wanted to do something where anybody, be it a compounder, a nurse, or even a multi-speciality hospital, would be able to use it at the point of care without any need for chemicals, reagents, which is why our vision has always been to develop label-free point of care solutions. What we have envisioned through this problem statement is a breakthrough technology just by shining light and covering from the entire spectrum from UV to thermal region. We're able to see these are four tubes of bacteria, and you can see when we leverage their natural fluorescence that comes from them, you can see the distinct bacterial fluorescence, and you wouldn't believe that each of these tubes have distinct bacterial signatures in them, different bacteria, and we are all just using the natural fluorescence without adding any chemical reagents. So we have multiple patents granted for this particular technology in India, US, Europe, and Singapore, and many other pending, which has garnered widespread attention through many MNCs. And this is the particular technology which we are working on for a wound care application. So the problem of wound care just doesn't start with a simple fungal infection gone wrong. It's much more significant, starting with diabetic foot ulcers, where every 30 seconds there is a limb amputated anywhere in the world. It's a global problem. Be it burn incidents, where you know that for a 7 million wound cases, there are only 200 beds available just to cater the burn incidences in Delhi alone. So again, it's a huge issue in itself, and also post-surgery monitoring. This is another big wound care segment. And what is very common is 70% of these wounds delay in healing because of an infection. Bacteria is everywhere. Because of blood flow, you cannot see how the blood is flowing through the wound regions. And the correct method is a visual assessment. You look at a wound and you make an assessment whether the wound is going to heal or not, what procedures to do, and it's not evidence based, in short. So the existing technologies, of course, in terms of diagnostics, is your standard culture test. There are many methods ranging from a culture method to RT-PCR to many other mass spectrometer methods, but it requires a lab facility. And many times, doctors in tier 2, tier 3 do not send it for a culture unless it is needed. And these reports take 3 to 7 days to come back. So the patients really had to revisit the doctor to know what antibiotics they need to be prescribed with. And for blood flow, you have various other technology. Again, it requires that like a CT angiography where you need dedicated rooms for these imaging assessments to be done. And again, some of these other technologies that are available to measure blood flow is again contact based. It just looks at one point, but not on the wound on the whole. So this is exactly the gap which we wanted to address, and we understood that 80% of these downstream complications can be prevented if there is a method or a technology available. So what we have developed is a first ever AI-enabled comprehensive wound assessment called Illuminate, where we provide both screening and point of care diagnostic tests. So either a patient with the help of a smartphone application can monitor his wound in-house and gets connected to the nearest hospital or a healthcare worker who has a suite of products made by us, which can give you all these parameters which are very important to assess how risk is the wound at. And this was all developed through 8 years where we understood the market and how best we can connect till the last mile. So with Illuminate, a wound that you can visually see in this way, you're immediately able to see how much of infection is present just by the natural fluorescence coming from the wound because of bacteria. And it also tells you how much of blood flow is present, which is in a color coded format, which are the regions of lower blood and which requires immediate attention. And a comprehensive wound report is generated in just under 2 minutes. So such a solution can be operated by anybody, and it also has importance even in a multi-speciality hospital. So it caters to all kind of wound application and wound patients, and we provide care at each point of the wound journey. So it's a very novel optical biopsy solution that's 100 times faster, 92% cheaper, and we are doing a number of impact assessment where it's proven to improve the wound healing 3x times and reduce antibiotic misuse, because AMR is the biggest problem coming in India by 58%. The technology involves shining light. We look at specific parameters coming from both blood and also bacteria, which are captured as multispectral images. And we use an AI. So AI is pretty much misused these days, but we use this because we need to compensate for the background noise contributed due to various skin colors, different ethnic population. And we are the only technology in the entire world we are able to use it on any kind of skin color. With this, we have validated with more than 92% accuracy, and we have multiple journal publications to validate our claims. We have a manufacturing license in India, and we have spread across both west, south, and the northeastern part. And right now, we are actively working in Northeast and Kashmir through our both screening and point of care solution, where we are able to monitor a number of cases, burn incidences, diabetic foot ulcers, and we provide an easier dashboard that is centrally located by a healthcare worker to assess where are the regions of patients at risk because of a potential wound cases leading to an amputation or an infection or low blood flow. So this is again a 2 year thing that we are undergoing. We hope we are successful at the end of this 5G healthcare use case. Of course, the company was not built in a day. We had a number of, our journey was pretty rickety. So we started with a government grant. We're happy for their support. In 2018, we did our clinical studies. We were funded by social impact investors. And because of the number of grants, the patents that we have granted, we got a lot of attention. And right now we have 3 joint ventures, one for this digital wound health application with the American Wound Care President Association. We are launching this application next year, both in US and in India. And we are also entering with the point of care solutions for wound care, plastic, reconstructive, and breast cancer surgery. And we also have attention in terms of non-medical application for water quality monitoring and all of that with a pharma entity. So, of course, we have a team which is rock solid, which is helping us with their experience and various other things. And thanks so much, Nasscom, for this platform where I'm able to talk about this. I hope with our solution, we will be able to cater to the last mile setting. We have started with one problem of wound care, And we hope we bring down the rate of amputation down the line, and it's going to take a long time for us to really achieve this dream. So thanks again.
Thanks, Gitanjali, and that was a fascinating discussion on how we can take the diagnostics and healthcare to the last mile, to the low resource settings, right, and really bring about a transformative change using deep tech in the health diagnostics and delivery. So thanks a lot
Thank you.
for that session. Coming to our next session, we have jumping back to our product management track, right? We have Mrudul Udotholi. He's the Director Mobility and Industrial Solutions at Myelin Foundry, a DTC startup focused on improving human experiences by combining unstructured data and AI on the edge and using it to transform human experiences at the edge. So, scaling deep tech products, what we will discuss is what are the lessons from marketing, market analysis, and other functions that typically a product management companies need to look at to rapidly scale their deep tech products in the market. So over to you, Mridul.
Hi, thank you. Hope you can see my screen and hear me loud and clear.
Hmm. Yes.
Thanks, Amol. So, thank you very much. I'm honored to be here, sharing my journey and experiences in the world of deep tech products. And thank you for the warm introduction. So, as we delve into the world of deep tech products, I want to take you through a journey, my journey through the highs and lows, the challenges, triumphs, and the and some of the lessons that I've learned along the way. So, firstly, before I get started, let me share a concept that has been the guiding star. And I heard a lot of this while I was backstage at this session, that a successful product journey starts with an idea and is driven and steered by the purpose. So, it's the idea, the vision, and all the nice technical stuff that initiates the journey. But one thing that I would like to draw attention to is that it's important to remember that while we are driven by the idea, we are governed by the value proposition. So, this is one thing most often overlooked and overshadowed in the excitement of deep tech products because the product itself is that so exciting to build and deploy and so on. So, deep tech products is not just about innovation, it's also about making that innovation useful, sustainable, and relevant. So, it's about the GTM. So, when you steer your journey, it's essential to keep a keen eye on the ecosystem, what's happening, where it's going, and also, most importantly, the financial sustainability of the endeavor. So, now the world of deep tech is a vast ocean. There are many topics, and I have had the privilege of riding a few waves, the IoT, I 4.0, and the AI, Edge AI, etc., etc. So each of these waves, they come with its own set of unique challenges and opportunities. But I should emphasize here that AI is not really a wave. AI is a new dimension. In most cases, about doing something new, more efficiently, and from a market perspective and from a company perspective, it's interesting to note that it impacts both the bottom line and the top line simultaneously. So let me take you through the story of scaling deep tech in my last organization, where I was responsible for GTM, and now at Mylan, where I'm scaling the industrial and automotive business portfolio, and probably share some interesting lessons learned through this journey. So, our journey begins in the United Kingdom, where we were working with one of the largest retail chains in the nation. These guys, the retail folks, are masters of retail operations. But the realm of energy management and AI was alien to them. And the project that we were taking to market there was an edge AI energy monitoring solution called Phantom. They knew the importance, the retail folks, they knew the importance of energy efficiency. They had strong ESG initiatives going on, but simply were fumbling when it came to harnessing the power of technology and looking at how it can impact their bottom lines. So it was here that I learned the vital lesson that even giants in their own domains, large corporates, can falter when faced with new technologies, especially deep tech, when it is not a part of their core value stream. For them, we had to then translate the complex world of AI driven energy management into tangible benefits that resonated with their core operations, and hence making this AI solution relatable. Then our journey then took us to the US, where it was even more interesting, where I encountered the largest quick service restaurants, as they're called, the QSRs. So these guys are again masters of their operations, and they also were energy was super important for them. It was a walk in the park to create the first excitement, speaking to the senior leadership and getting the first product in there and so on. The Edge AI deep tech product that worked non-intrusively, did magical things for improving the energy efficiency, uptime, and so on. So while we did a pilot store, the buy-in simply did not get through as expected. So energy management as a product with AI simply did not make the cut at the CXO table. It was just another good to have solution. We then worked closer with the operations team and packaged this by closely coupling this into the restaurant's core operations. Now, the difference was that we were hitting the top line by providing predictive maintenance insights, ensuring the uptime of their operations, and also acting as a quantity reporting tech, replacing their manual reporting practices with the edge AI technologies. So, you see, now what happened was that the buying center shifted. This product was affecting the core value stream. It was impacting the core value stream. And there was suddenly a strong interest in the organization. And unlike in the past, the decision makers, yeah, are now well defined and their metrics were defined too. And they simplified the buying decision. Taking this story on to one of Asia's largest banks, where we had one of our largest edge AI deployments. These guys, they knew the trade inside out. And within the bank, we had a very strong sustainability ambassador who wanted the bank to benefit from deep tech. Now, here our journey was about, uh, you know, more of education and guidance. So we had to walk alongside them, hand in hand, explaining the intricacies of AI, intricacies of how the solution works, and demonstrating how it could enhance their operations. So this chapter underscores the significance of a mentorship role in deep tech landscape that is often overlooked, and the need to upskill the interface organization, which is ultimately going to use deep tech. Deep tech, of course, is interesting. It has a lot of potential, but to unlock the potential and to unleash it into the core value streams to ultimately impact the top line, bottom line, you need that interface organization to function and use the product more. So, further in our quest to scale the products, we discover the importance of financing models as well, because some of these products don't come cheap, especially in the UK. Some of these deployments were highly capital intensive. We were looking at hundreds of stores throughout the European continent. So, especially while scaling large geographies, it's important to look at various interesting ways to fund. So, innovation in funding is also important to look at. And here we were prospectively funded by a green energy fund. So, this was a game changer. And we realized that creativity and financing in deep tech is also as critical as innovation in the product. I'm sure a lot of the startup founders would agree there as well. Now, moving on to my journey here at Mylan, uh, we are pioneers in creating deep tech products that run on the edge. In the automotive business vertical, we had done sufficient work on creating products for driver monitoring and other HI solutions that work in a car. However, the end applications were typically in very expensive cars. So, in the backdrop of numerous road accidents in India due to fatigue, drowsiness, uh, we were looking at how do we create this cutting edge product out of India that is also um, accessible to everyone. And we said, okay, fine. So if we need to deploy it across the value stream here in India, we have to put this on a device which most people possessed, and that's a cell phone. So we have had at Mylan in the past experience with streaming and OTT upscaling, where we are live with more than 3 million cell phones worldwide with our Edge AI solution. But we have never put a algorithm as complex as driver monitoring into a cell phone. But we did it. And there were other challenges as well, like tweaking, adaptation to the skin tones, lighting conditions, road conditions, detecting bicycles, two-wheelers. So these were all the challenges which were solved. But at the end of the day, what we realized is it's super important to tailor the product to the market requirements, to the right price points, so that there is adoption and adaptability, acceptance in the market. So we put it on a cell phone, by the way, at Mylan. Um, so here, I would like to summarize it this way. So we have seen that deep tech's sweet spot, as we call it, often lies in being the bridge between the top line and the revenue generation and the bottom line efficiencies. It's not about how, but usually the why and where AI or deep tech fits in the grand scheme of things. So our journey through the QSR in US, the fashion trend setters in the UK, Asia's banks, showed us that the language of AI might differ, but its potential is universal. And it's super important to educate, guide, and create that ecosystem, including the right influencers, and create hyperlocal solutions. So at Mylan, our journey in productizing, packaging this deep tech, especially our driver monitoring solution, Mickey, and the surface inspection solutions, etc., are examples of this adaptability to local conditions. And as we look forward, we see AI as the catalyst for creating that user experience. And hopefully, with every deep tech innovation, we redefine the boundaries of possibility. And wishing all of you product managers, founders, all the very best in your journeys. Thank you.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, Mrudul. That was very interesting to understand how the different market research and market requirements and how we can fit them exactly, right? Like to before we launch the solution, something which is very important for a product management manager or a marketing teams to understand the go-to-market aspects of things. So thanks a lot, Mrudul, for that
Thank you.
engaging discussion. So our next speaker is going to talk about EdTech, and she is Kanan Tandi. Kanan is the co-founder, R&D and training and R&D training and business head at CogniQ, and she's also somewhat of a mind reader. Now, what CogniQ does is they're a deep tech startup focused on generating interesting insights from your emotions. Kanan will share how insights from cognitive AI and emotions can be used to improve the way we think about education, the way we think about improving learning outcomes, or the way we think about harnessing the power of this subtle body language and emotions into various decision making. Over to you, Kanan.
Thank you so much, Amol, and thank you so much for offering me this platform. And when we talk about deep tech in education and about non-verbal communication, the first thing we need to understand is how much are we actually understanding and how much are we learning through the help of machines. So I did prepare a four-slide presentation, but I thought that it's better that I interact with you in this way. First of all, let me just take you through to the some of the benefits of deep tech. Now the topic which we were talking about was the education in the age of deep tech. So one do you know fact for all of you is by 2030 the global deep tech market is expected to be reaching about 15.7 trillion US dollar. Now when people say deep tech, you have been hearing this word for the entire day, probably, so I'll not go into it. But how does it help in the education right now? I'll cover that part for a bit and then we'll jump into what is CogniQ, that is our startup is doing in the emotion AI and deep tech space. So, when we talk about deep tech in the educational field, the four major or immense benefits that the deep tech is doing or how it is transforming the education is the personalized learning. Gone are the days when we had to be on the same page all the time, and every time the teacher used to ask, do you understand? All of us, we had to say yes, right? And then we didn't know what to do. Thankfully, now with the help of immersive platforms, immersive learnings, we are all learning at our own pace, which is also known as the self-paced learning if you have come across the word. Then we have something called as the global collaboration. It has helped us CogniQ in a major way. You can interact with almost any of the countries here. You can interact with them. And the last part is the skill development. I'm talking about only the education part as of now. So when we say the skill development, there are different skills which are needed for us to grow in terms of education. there are around 20 skill sets which were given by the under UNDP goals, and 12 of them were related to the human behavior. Can we work on the emotional intelligence? Can we work on the critical thinking? Can we work on the decision making part? Yes, we can. And now, because we have multiple platforms, anybody can learn from anywhere. You can identify what are the sequence of learning, how to grow further, and how to learn things. And the last part which I was thinking of covering is the benefits, which most of you would also understand and agree. The first one is the improved student outcomes. I feel that we have come to an age where one size fits all does not work, and everybody knows how to work on their own pace, how to learn their own things. And my field or my background is from psychology as well. And some of you might know that there are 8 different type of intelligence that a person has. Different type of intelligence also includes and comes in with different type of skill sets. So when we talk about 8 different skill sets, how to learn and improve on particular skill set or intelligence that you have is been given by the edtech platforms now, which use AI, and one of them is something that we also work in. There is also increased engagement. If you have ever known or have used Khan Academy, they are known for their increased engagement platform experience. Then we have greater access to the education and of course the preparedness for the future. Coming back to the cognitive or the emotion AI part, let me just tell you affective computing, which is also known as emotion AI. We calculate the facial expressions, voice, and words in terms of analyzing how a person is saying. We started with the thought process thinking that, okay, how amazing it will be to analyze what a person is thinking or feeling. And without AI, it becomes a little difficult because AI does not have something called as bias, and obviously it depends on a person who's training the model. So when we started cognitive, the core purpose was to identify the correct facial expression. If you go to the Kaggle data set and you get the FER for 2013 data, the existing accuracy of the facial expressions, you will find it to be 60 to 65%. We had to increase the facial expressions accuracy, and now we have taken it to 95% of accuracy. The 5% of accuracy, however, and it's a big problem, is when a person is smiling, everybody's smile is different. We have not been taught how to smile, but when we are smiling, most likely both of the lip side goes up, right? So if a person is smiling like this, you will, or the system will calculate it as the smile. But what if a person's general smile is like this? So usually people will say that it's a disgust, and our system is also identifying this as the disgust. This is also something that we have filed a patent on, where a person will be judged for their own facial expressions by themselves, not compared to others. So right now, the existing models which are there, for example, if my facial expression is being seen on the platform, my facial expression will be measured compared to the other lot of smiles which are already available. So the patent that we have filed is I will be judged against only my smile so that it will be more accurate in the emotion AI platform. So facial expressions will give you more of the information, but obviously there are more things going on in a person's mind when we talk about only facial expression. So if you ever give somebody a gift, and if a person opens the gift and says that, wow, I like it, compared to wow, I like it, you will get to know when a person means what. After facial expression comes something which is called as the audio analysis. Under audio analysis, we have 5 different metrics. 5 different metrics are the articulation rate, the communication, the response latency, the fillers, and the pauses used by a person while they are talking. What can you get from a person's response latency? This is a very important and interesting metric which will tell you that if a person has prepared for the answer or no. I'll give you just a little bit of tip. If you have ever doubted a person that somebody is about to lie, ask them a question. If they answer within 1 second, or with the response time is under 1 second, they have been preparing for the answer for all this while. Response latency also measures a lot of other things. For example, if somebody has another issue, let's say if somebody is a little nervous, somebody is worried, somebody is underconfident, somebody is not very happy. So response latency is also used to measure those factors as well. And after that, we come to something called as the zero shot analysis used by Facebook, and it is open for all. We have merged zero shot analysis by Facebook with Dr. Plutchik's work on wheel of emotion. So Dr. Plutchik, what he has done is he has given a wheel of emotion where there are positives and negatives and neutral emotion. We have generated another pool of macro and micro emotions, and there are now 118 macro and micro emotions or feelings which tell us and give us a basic idea on how are you feeling while talking to us. Now, why emotion AI is something which is good? Emotion AI is good is because there are, like I said, there are no biases. So if a Punjabi does not like a Bengali, it will not tell that this person is not good just because the person is coming from a certain background. Why is it good? It's also because it will also identify and check those minute things in your facial expression, in the voice, and also the kind of words that you're using that a human being cannot identify live. When I was working in my other firm called as Body Speaks Better, I used to do the same thing where I used to record the candidates of senior management. Their consent used to be taken for audio and video analysis. And at the end of the interview, I used to give a 10-page report, a manual report, saying that if this person is fit for the role and why are the reasons, what are the, if there are any issues like anger issues or critical decision making issues. So after you ask a question, the first 4 seconds become very important for the person to answer. Again, please do not become Sherlock Holmes just by knowing two tips. We need to know more things, and deeper than that, knowledge is important. Emotion AI is not good because it will not tell why a person is feeling whatever they are feeling. There are multiple applications, however, one where we are working is the fintech startup or the fintech solutions. Thanks to again Nasscom, because of Nasscom, we got the big client that is ICICI for the fintech fraud detection. How are we helping in the fraud detection? Are we saying if a person is lying? Absolutely not. We are identifying some of the traits or some of the metrics with the help of some of the metrics, that if a person is 100% genuine or not. If the metrics identify that the risk score is higher, then it goes for a manual intervention or a manual investigation. If the risk score is low, then it goes for automated claim settlement. Now, this is something we are doing for the fintech solution with the help of our platform. I did not mention about the facts or the facial expression metrics. There are 15 different metrics. Some of them are already there, some of them are derived. The derived metrics are confusion, nervousness, confidence, engagement, and attention. So when you are looking at me, if we had an emotion AI platform and if the video would be on, we could actively predict how many people are actively interested in listening or learning about these things. So these are few of the things I thought I'll quickly run you through this. When we talk about emotion AI and we talk about deep tech, please understand it comes up with its own repercussions, it comes up with its own moral ground as well. Some people think that it's not good, and people who are into the field, they always talk about emotion AI in its favor, and I'm one of them. As long as it is being used ethically and the person is known that they are being recorded with their consent, I think it is fine. Now, I will also ask Mr. Ramol if you can help me if there are any other questions. I would love to answer those questions related to our platform, Emotion AI, or any other thing that you may ask. So first of all, thank you so much, Nasscom. And I can see just one question right here, which Deepti has asked. Does the person know that you are observing? So yes, whenever we are taking any of the video footages, we always mention and we give we ask the permission of the person. The one thing that we are not mentioning, that why are the data being used, we did mention them that these are the data which will be used and you are being recorded, and until this time you will be recorded. So none of the data are being given to the third party, and that is also something that we mention them upfront. So that's all from my end. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Amol, if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you so much, Nasco.
Thanks, Kanan. I think all of us should use your platform maybe today, watching our portfolio over the last few days of the market, right? Like, and measure our emotions. So thanks a lot for your engaging discussion, and thanks a lot. So our next speaker today is Dr. Sai Praveen Harnath, Medical Director at Apollo Hospitals. Uh, Technology is playing an increasing role in several patient care workflows in a hospital setting. And Dr. Sai Praveen Harnath will kind of educate us on how deep tech and IT are being used today in various patient care flows, as well as what the future offers, right, in terms of deep tech advances in improving both care delivery as well as outcomes. So over to you, Dr. Sai.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Sai Harnath. I am actually overseas in Lisbon at the International Hospital Federation World Congress. So I'm using the local Wi-Fi, so it's possible my audio is spotty. I would turn the camera, but then the light's too bright. You'll be looking at a replica of the San Francisco Bridge, which Lisbon has. But at the same time, I thought I'll share some of the information that I've been learning as well as using during my journey in terms of using technology and health. Uh, and anytime you're not able to hear me, just let me know. I will try to kind of slow down. So in terms of deep tech and the future of healthcare, I think the key elements are that we really need to look at the human element as the number one piece, especially in healthcare. And if you look at excellence, expertise, as well as empathy, these are the three value systems by which we at Apollo Hospitals actually do anything both patient focused as well as processes as well as remote care. The main learning that I have had, which I could share with you, is that unless you have a partnership between the technology provider as well as the actual clinical provider and the patient, it's unlikely that you will have lasting or sustainable success. And there are plenty of startups, plenty of ideas which have, despite good funding, despite great brains being together, were not able to kind of go to the next step, mainly because the process was not followed where there was a collaboration and a collaborative discussion on how we can take this forward. So deep tech, while it is transformative, disruptive, and also invisible sometimes, it is important that we need to look at the end user, which is the patient and the provider. So if you look at the reality of healthcare, now this little creature out there has killing 800,000 people a year. We have not conquered the mosquito. Despite our advances in traveling to Mars, retaining and getting samples from asteroids, we have not been able to conquer these human problems. And I think it is not a question of the technology not being available. It is probably related to the processes not existing to deploy this at scale. Now, the issue that I think which is important for us to realize is that unless we get deep tech from the lab to the bedside, from the bench to the bedside, and the bedside beyond a hospital into the homes, as well as anywhere a patient is, we have not really achieved success. And I think we need to now work on consolidating using the advances in technology to figure out a way to get the existing models to everybody. And what will then happen is that we will learn how to do these things more efficiently and decrease the cost of care. And once we decrease the cost of care, those savings will move to other areas. Uh, Looks like the slides are on auto move, but in this slide, I've also put in a few other concepts which I think are somewhat transformative, which are not yet in the mainstream. There are pilot projects, there are proof of concepts, etc. At Apollo Hospitals, we use a lot of these subheadings there, but I don't think it's available at scale, and that is something we should look for in the future of healthcare. Now, I read recently about a device that is being developed at the University of Washington, which actually powers itself using ambient radio waves. And that I thought is a very sustainable as well as a unique concept where you can actually do things where you don't need batteries. And in healthcare, there are plenty of things which don't need a lot of power, but they need to be everywhere. And it's possible that we may be able to use things of this sort to power structures which are in the healthcare industry. We all know that there are wearables. I mean, I have a wearable on my wrist, which is on my watch, which is measuring my heart rate variability, looking at my temperature and pulse oximetry if I need to. The same devices are being used in a medical setting. In our hospital, we now have deployed this in about 1,000 beds, or 1,200 actually, and increasing it rapidly. In the last 6 months, we've watched about 25,000 patients, which is about 75,000 patient days. We've been able to decrease the number of emergencies, decrease the number of code blues, as they call it, increase the access to rapid response. We've also been able to increase the access to nurses having more time because the vital signs are automatically charted. Biomarkers are something that we should look at for the future, and these include easily available continuous glucose monitoring devices using commercial ones, what Abbott makes, Ultrahuman makes, so which are actually things you can actually measure the glucose continuously and might even be useful, I think, in a healthcare setting where you decrease the work of actually checking the sugar. Likewise, there are multiple other companies making devices which can measure other products which are important in the human system. Interesting idea is breath analytics. It has gone up and down in the few years, but people are talking now about using newer ways of measuring microscopic nanomolar amounts of chemicals in the breath to understand what is happening to a patient. And the last thing I just want to touch base is in terms of invisibles. Now, the invisibles are technologies which measure vital signs. They look at now what Kanan was mentioning about looking at the face and doing AI. Likewise, you can measure vital signs using just an image or a camera or even radar. And there's LiDAR technology, which is now able to measure respiratory rate, respiratory movement, sleep apnea, heart rates, etc. Now, these are all wonderful technologies, which are many of them are already deployed, but they're not deployed at scale. And the benefit of deploying at scale is that you will be able to leapfrog communities which do not have healthcare right now, which do not have intensive care units. You can very quickly, at a low cost, convert them into a monitored setting using all of these low-cost devices. Now, all of this information then needs to get into an intelligent engine of sorts, which can do the AI in the background, but in addition, also have clinical insights that can be given to the patients as well as the providers, and that this can be done from any kind of a setting. Now, in terms of what we have done, we have been very active in the telemedicine space. The left side is a picture that we had published in a Critical Care Clinics, which is a large journal looking at all kinds of things in critical care. And this issue was on telemedicine. And we were kind of writing about what can we do for critical care. And we showed that in India, we actually have deployed all over India and are doing remote critical care. During COVID, we were extremely active. We have now expanded this to patients who are not in the ICU, what I had mentioned earlier. In terms of what's coming next, I think it's very important. I mean, people perhaps expecting me to talk about the latest high-tech stuff, but I've really realized that the technology is going to change. Moore's law is going to be active. You're going to have very smart people like everybody at Nasscom and the other communities creating things which are miniature, microscopic, nanoscale to solve these problems. You're going to get quantum computing coming into all our systems. You're going to have AI everywhere, if it already isn't, and you're going to have a way to actually measure vital signs along with other kinds of things we don't even know about in a very easy fashion. But ultimately, the human factor is going to play a role. Now, the financial industry is seamless. You can use your ATM card anywhere in the world. Trust is built into that. There is value built into that. We know that there is faith that a logo of a certain company means something. Likewise, in the airline industry, people fly safely. You have the air traffic control of every country, every region, very seamlessly handing off people from one plane to the other in terms of the communication that happens. Now, when we can do this so efficiently on a daily basis with almost zero error rates, why can't we do it for healthcare? And I think over there, the human factor plays a role. I think it's very important that we believe that there is value in what we do. We need to show that the outcomes are good. We need to show that the cost is affordable. Likewise, we need to recognize the barriers and build the bridge and look at what are the risks of even going in the direction that we want to take, especially with deep tech, where the investment might be high initially. Likewise, we need to look at the fact that healthcare is built on trust and faith, and how can we make sure that the reputation of the healthcare provider is kind of sufficient enough to make sure that patients believe in it and providers themselves believe in the quality that's being given, and of course, what are the actual deliverables that are happening. So, the last 7-8 minutes, what I've touched on is that technology for deep tech is completely available to deploy. The biggest areas you should look at are measuring vital signs in a non contact fashion or using tiny, tiny devices which use very little power, are very low cost, and can be deployed at scale. I've also talked about the use of point of care devices as well as devices which can use artificial intelligence to get insights from both biochemical as well as AI based visual imaging. The third factor I talked about is the requirement that there is partnership between patients, providers, as well as the ecosystem of inventors. And the last thing I would really say is all of us need to realize that healthcare is a very personal thing, as we saw during COVID, and you need to make sure that the healthcare that you are going to access, which may be your community hospital, it may be a clinic that you go to, that they have the best solutions available so they can save your life when they need to in an emergency. So I'm just going to stop there and really say that I really appreciate Nasscom for giving me this opportunity to have a quick chat with you all about what I believe is the requirement for taking care of patients with deep tech, and I believe this is the future of healthcare. Again, thank you very much.
So thanks a lot, Dr. Sai Pravinharnath, and it was fascinating to hear, right? Like how the measuring vitals at scale or having trust and faith and provider-patient partnerships can really kind of quickly come together to achieve greater outcomes in terms of patient care as well as healthcare using deep tech. So that comes to coming to our next session for the day. Our next session is like going from healthcare to climate tech. Water conservation in these times of climate change is kind of going to be one of our biggest challenges that we need to solve. Our next speaker is Ganesh Shankar. He's the founder at FluxGen Technologies, and he's going to tell us how they are going to help save water, right? Simply going to help save water using the power of deep tech and AI, and how they have implemented these things at both corporate as well as the government level throughout India. So over to you, Ganesh.
Thank you so much, Amol, for the opportunity. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'll just share my screen. 1 second. I would like to give a bit of an emphasis on why I wanted to share deep tech in water or sustainability. Before that, I thought I should also talk about deep purpose in deep tech. And I would like to, I made a presentation to share how I found my purpose and how I utilize deep tech to solve that purpose. So this is a lake I grew up next to. It's called Madiwala Lake, and I used to go there every Sunday with my father on Sundays because it was only available on Sunday. I used to look at this lake and I used to get enchanted. One of the days they told that this lake will be converted into residential locality, and I would not be able to see any of these birds and flora and fauna around. I was deeply disenchanted. I thought, like, how would this happen? Fortunately, the people around this lake decided to revolt against the authority and wanted to do a rally and wanted to protect the lake. And I was also part of that rally, and they also did a ways to engage everybody in different age group. They even did a painting competition so that kid, somebody like me who was around 10-year-old will participate. It so happened that we were able to protect the lake. I was fortunate to win the painting competition, and they conferred the title Friend of Lake. This was one of the earliest experience of my life. I saw how tragedy of commons would affect environment and affect the world we live. The state of lake is what the state of world is today. And fortunately, I grew up in the city of Bangalore, and I got exposure to deep tech in the form of working on satellite antennas when I interned with ISRO, and I worked on iron traps when I did my master's at the Institute of Science, which is used in building quantum computers. I later worked in aerospace industry. in General Electric. What was interesting was that I was able to apply my imagination in the technology, and that gave me some kind of a confidence to build my career. But unfortunately, I didn't see a value in what I was doing because I was solving something that the humanity didn't badly need. That's when I thought I should quit my job and work on use this ability to imagine and use technology to solve something more important. I left my job in General Electric and went to a small town called Ujjire at that time to work on solar technologies. So I wanted to work on sustainability. This was in 2010, and I realized this is something that I should apply my skills in. I came up with the idea of setting up. After working in Selco, I came back to Bangalore to start my own company, and I thought I should work on electrifying villages and see how I could use technology to solve this. I came up with this idea on how I would have a solar plant and distribute the electricity to a bunch of houses. I showed this to a lot of my friends and told I would like to electrify villages using this. Many of them told Ganesh, you are too romantic. Things like this don't work in India. Some of them said, like, I understand that you have great credentials of uh, doing your masters at the University of Science, studying and working in G, but these are something that is not going to really happen in India. I was kind of, I mean, I was very heartbroken, but I thought like my motivation to do something on this was slightly more than giving up. So what I did was I decided, let me set up the small plant on the rooftop of a house on a table tennis board. I set up this up and with a bunch of people, and I showed this. Then people said, yes, this probably works. So something that gave me the confidence to take this onto the ground. So what went next was the Nature Center for Climate Change at University of Science said that why don't you actually we will fund this project and if you could electrify a small village, that's great. So it so happened that we went to a small village in Kanapur Taluk in North Karnataka to electrify while trekking to this village. And we were able to set up the solar plant, and the girl in this picture was able to get access to electricity for the first time. Today, the girl is even gone to college and pursuing careers like you and I. And I was told that the passing percentage in the SLC exam that year increased by 70% because of access to electricity. This how I saw how imagination technology can be a great catalyst, but doing something for social impact can be truly enriching career experience. But what I realized was I was not building something that would scale with various other parameters into account. But this had given me enough confidence to work on something that is as important as water. It was said that if climate change was sharp, water is its teeth. And it was during the same time I had myself experienced water crisis in my own childhood. Had seen water risk from my childhood. The earliest childhood, I remember we had a well at home, and that well kind of dried out by the time I went to school, that is primary school. Fortunately, we got a tap connection at home and we were able to get water on a regular basis. But by the time I went to my middle school, my father, who used to take affairs of water at home, decided to construct an overhead tank. And by the time I went to high school, he had to construct a sump at home because water was not filling the overhead tank. And later, when I went to do my master's at the University of Science, he had to he had to start getting water from tankers. And if the trend continues, probably my son would actually have to consume water by capsule. So we should not let that happen. And I realized that industries, if that's a case, if that's a challenge for water for an individual like me, what would be the challenge for industry? So it was very evident that India is running under severe water crisis. Right. So we realize there are three major risks industries face because of water crisis. One is financial risk. The cost of water would increase substantially, and today groundwater is also depleting, and the cost there is a charge for groundwater. I've been told that industries have shut down because of unavailability of water. One of the India's largest conglomerate had to shut down. The dairy business had to shut down for 18 days because of unavailability of water. Doing that their competitors were able to take up all their customers, and it was a permanent switch. Today, because India's GDP is getting affected by 6% because of water crisis, the compliance has actually taken great enforcement has come up. So according to Water Act of India, you have to track water at key location and you have to reduce water consumption by significant by 20%. And recently, groundwater legislation was passed in Lok Sabha. That means that groundwater uh, extraction should be reduced, and you have to increase the groundwater level by 20%. Last but not the least, which is a very key driver for this water management, is BRSR, Business Responsible Sustainability Reporting. What it means is that if I'm going to buy this shirt in the future, I would also know how much water was required to make this shirt, right? So there is a line which says that you have to disclose water required to make a reprieve of revenue. All these three things actually puts industries in massive and imminent risk with respect to water. What we believe is, just like water as a liquid is transparent and clear, what we make the data of water transparent and clear and build solution on top of it. That's exactly what we do. It goes without saying, if you don't measure, you can't manage, right? And so what we realized is that there is a significant amount of leakage, wastage, excessive usage happens in industries. In a way, it is taking away the groundwater and various other sources of water, which actually belongs to the communities around, right? So when you actually track water flow, water level, water pressure, water quality, and put it into the cloud and identify inefficiencies through machine learning and data analytics model, we're able to reduce water consumption by up to 30%. So essentially, we digitize water infrastructure and use machine learning models to reduce the overall consumption by up to 30% and give prescriptive alerts to take corrective action to avoid financial risk, business continuity risk, and compliance risk by providing notification. So of course, we have been able to use sensors, and we also do edge intelligence, do this. I mean, the sensors could be anything. It could be as small as small pipe to a large diameter pipe, and we would be able to take the data. Like you can see this pipe as big as human sized pipe and water level sensors. So if this is a typical water balance chart of any facility, we would digitize at all levels. It's just not flow, it is all possible parameter, quality level, pressure, energy consumed by water infrastructure, and provide notification alerts. As you could see, we would eventually break down various risks associated to industry into solutions using our the machine learning models, which is running on this platform. So yes, of course, we have been able to provide, as you know, the ground staff will not be able to have access to computers. We would be able to provide through mobile apps. And I still remember before meeting one of this client, they were used to take handwritings of data at different location in a facility, and they were not able to find out where exactly water leakage or wastage is happening. With this intervention, we were able to pinpoint where exactly water is getting wasted, and excessive usage is happening. They would be able to get to know in less than 20 minutes and fix the problem in less than half an hour, instead of what would take days together, weeks together, months together. So yeah, we've been able to save more than 3 billion liters of water so far. We have some of the best serious, conscious corporates who have been able to use our solution. Just want to add, Lactalis is the world's largest dairy, and we were able to put up the wireless sensor network on that facility to identify leakage, wastage, excessive usage, and we were able to bring down the water consumption by up to 19%, and at the same time de-risk them from a bunch of risk. And of course, a hospital like GKNMH, we were able to not give them financial returns, but they were able to get US Green Building Council Platinum rated, Indian Green Building Council Platinum rated, and CI National Water Award, and they were able to get a water score of 14 out of 15, while the global average is 10. So in a way, we were able to use sensor fusion, deep tech in terms of artificial intelligence on the platform to provide prescriptive alerts and give them these results. Yeah, happy to share companies like Tata Steel has done a press release about their partnership. So what I want to say is, I started with this lake, right? And we were trying to protect the lake, and we did. Today, using technology, we've been able to save water equivalent to 5 times this lake. This lake has more than half a billion liter of water, right? And we were able to save more than 3 billion liter of water. So that's how. I mean, now we are working with government to work on various initiatives. I think I'm running short of time. May have to some jump few slides. And now with this support with Government of India, we are looking at saving a lot more. Fortunate to share that even Prime Minister
Ganesh,
Modi spoke
we have
about
to.
our. Yeah. So I'll just end the thing. So our goal is to save 500 times Madiwala Lake. So that's how I figured out my purpose. I realized building a while imagination technology is core to what catalyzes me, social impact drives the purpose, and building something scalable, monetizable will eventually lead a deep tech solution, or for that matter, any solution to achieve one's deep purpose as well. And I realize it's no different from what Indian philosophy talks about dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Happy to take on any question if there is any.
Thanks, Ganesh. I think we are running out of time, so probably we don't have too much time for questions today. But thanks for the fascinating insights, right, on how you can save up to 30% water consumptions, and using that you have been able to save more than 3 billion liter, or 5 times the what Madiwala Lake capacity carries, and that's been the inspiration. So thanks a lot for your fascinating discussions,
Thank you, sir.
and
Thank you.
thank you. So that brings us to the last session of the day, right? Like from climate tech to agri tech, and how we are seeding innovation, and what's the deep tech's role in modern agriculture. We have with us Subrat Panda, who's the CTO of AgNext, and he will walk us through how rapidly assessing food quality is really at the core of uh, providing more incomes to producers, farmers, improving trade, and in general improving the agri value chain. Right? Like we will learn from Subrat at AgNext on how they are leveraging advances in deep tech to improve agri value chain. So over to you, Subrat.
Thank you, Amol. Thank you, Nasscom, for this opportunity. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Okay, great. Um, I put on the slide, so I hope this is visible as well. So, okay. So, general introduction. What is the agri-tech? It's a you can Google, but I think anything which is improving productivity and bringing in efficiency and profitability in agriculture is in the purview of agri-tech. It involves drones, which are satellite photography, IoT based sensor networks, tracking, forecasting, weather, irrigation, automated and precise and precision irrigation, hydroponics, less water and you grow a lot of plants and food around it, soil moisture sensors, or not just moisture but chemical sensors. All these are part of agri-tech. Um, what we do at Agnex, I think we have a brief history about what we are and who we
Subrat, just a second. So your slide has stopped. It's not visible to the audience. So if you can stop and share it again,
are. Okay,
so that your slides are visible.
okay. I shared my screen. Let me share my entire screen then. That's
Sure.
it. Is it
Yeah,
visible
it's
now?
visible. Yes, it's visible now. So,
Okay, great. So we at Agnex, we are primarily into the core technologies we have worked on is around NIR spectroscopy, computer vision, electrochemical sensing, IoT. And we've built solutions around them in various verticals around tea, around grains, around milk, and a lot of other sensing devices technologies, right? And then there are software and hardware solutions around them. Uh, Primarily, any technology that we have built is focusing on quality evaluation of post harvest produce. What does that mean? Is when you procure, or when a farmer is selling wheat, or he's selling say brinjal or chili or anything, right? The pricing that is happening and for which is getting a price is a function of quality and quantity. Quantity is a weight thing, right? It's a very standard thing, but quantity has been a bit subjective. What we have built is to make technology which is ensuring that quality is becoming objective. It's a hard problem because it has been there is a lot of history around it. People have been doing it in specific methods, but when you bring in technology disruption, there are challenges. Uh, but yes, we have been building them and have been disrupting those value chains in grains, oil seeds, pulses, tea, and other things. Now, uh, what you require to build this technology is it's a trifecta of AI, hardware, and a lot of data collected. So, hardware means the sensor built, which is replacing the current sensing technology that is being used by human beings. Then we collect a lot of data using the sensors. This data is then used to build intelligence, which is then pushed back to the hardware, and this device is able to do things on its own. And this is how we build all our tech, right, around computer vision and in spectroscopy or chemical sensors. Um, what we do, I spoke about it. I won't, in the interest of time, I will skip this slide. One of the things that we touch around, and the previous speaker talked about sustainability, and to some extent, it's an existential question for all of us. I think what we build today is ensuring that you are building a sustainable, you're making the full value chain sustainable in the sense that today, if you do a test, right, chemical test, there is chemicals required, there is a lot of carbon dioxide emitted into the environment. These devices they consume very less power, and they don't need any raw materials for consumption, right? So it's like taking a photograph and finding out what the image says, or taking a spectral signature and telling what the chemical composition is. So we ensure that testing is sustainable as well, right? You don't have to. We bring the lab, a technology oriented lab to the field. This The samples don't have to go to the lab and get tested. So um, I think what we have, the most important USP that we provide, right, is we enable quality instantly on the spot. Right? It's very time and cost effective. Like I said, there's function of quality and quantity. All transactions, we ensure quality is done. For example, I've given an example of wheat, chili, fruits here. Right? The chemical qualities for wheat checked are gluten, ash content, protein content, right? And there are many other things that also, for interest of time, I didn't list it down here. Then for the physical thing, you have to look at whether how many broken grains are there, how many damaged grains are there, how many weevil grains are there, how many shriveled foreign matter, live insect infestation and other stuff. So how good are we on that is something that is tested using our technology. Uh, if you want to do it today, let's take what people do today, right? So for the chemical test, people take it to a lab. The samples are destroyed, tested out for the properties, and then tested. And they take around a day to complete the test. And you need a lot of raw materials, electricity, power, and other stuff like that. On the physical side, there's a person sitting who would be taking those grains after post sampling, and then divide, or rather examining them every grain with his eyes, and then segregating it. And once segregation is done, weigh the samples according to the classes identified, and give the percentage weight. So this is how it is done today. Compare this, and that's typically a hour to a hour and a half process, long process. You bring it down to 5 minutes, both those tests, right? And you can bring this test. You don't need a specialist. You take any guy, he has to just follow the SOP, put the samples in the device, and you get the results. Interesting case is that of chili. The chemical test of chili takes around you know 24 to 48 hours and costs a lot to do one sample test, right? And it has to be done with a very high end machine, an HPLC machine. Um, and the physical ones is again, you have to find out whether there's a damage, there's a broken tape, or there's a black tape and other things like that. We have solutions for them, which can do this both the things instantly. So, what challenges do we have in agriculture? Nature's play, Mother Nature's play. Right? There are innumerable varieties of rice, wheat. Name any Even chili, I know, is there are some 400 varieties across the world. Right? India being the largest producer of chili, and the interesting thing in a country like India is every 100 kilometers or maybe 200 kilometers, the quality of the agricultural produce changes because soil quality changes, the type kind of irrigation changes, the kind of water supply, the kind of the farming practices, they are different, right? So there are varieties, and even within the varieties there will be sub varieties. Right? So just look at the number of rice which is cultivated worldwide. For 40,000 varieties of rice, and in India it is just 6,000 varieties of rice which is cultivated in India, across all states. Um, these are challenges which are really big scale and difficult to conquer. What the and there are few factors of success that uh, even if you build technology for these, there has to be government policy push. There has to be ground awareness with the farmers or the FPOs that quality measurement is a good thing. Tech is a good thing. Tech helps you build better value and better pricing. And there are tech providers like us. So there has to be a top-down and a bottoms-up policy thing, which will help us, which will help the farmers and the lower-level people who are in the food chain early on, so that they get realize better value for their produce. This is a typical slide, right, which where we cover. It's a cycle which is done in every AI product. Like you have to get sensors, you have to collect data, you have to ingest the data, clean the data, do a model building on them, deploy, see whether you are good enough, go back, collect more data, improve the model, and do that. The cycle is there everywhere. Nothing new here. Now take that cycle and let us look at what we do in our labs. Right, what we do, we have taken the sample, we test the sample out in the lab, we collect the reports from the lab, and this is duplicate testing is also done here. We collect the same sample in our in our device. We get the spectra out of it and then correlate the spectra with AI ML algorithm with the lab data collected. This typically is done with thousands and thousands of data, and you get a end of it, you get a rapid proximity analysis in laser. The same thing happens on the computer vision side as well. You have the sample, you put the sample on the device, you get the image. You have people who are labeling experts take their data, and this is defined as per industry standards, and a lot of work is done by government, and then you do that model and build a model and put it on the device. I'll take an interesting test case which we did for farmers in Telangana as part of Sagubagu project. Uh, the most important part was we had to make chili quality assessment uh, available for farmers at a very scalable way. So at the procurement centers, which were primarily the FPOs, a couple of FPOs, we built a solution and deployed them. Now, the most important part of the solution was, you have to build a good scalable hardware which could work under all lighting conditions, because these are not lab conditions. You have to have the NIR device was very standard. We had to build the moisture meter for the chili pots. They all have to be battery powered, and the AI layer was like I showed in the earlier slide. We had to build the models for all the varieties which they were procuring, and the varietal information had to be there. And you deploy all of these on the edge, so that you don't need an internet connection to operate. And then once the data is collected, you have a reporting layer which is giving in you data on what is the way out, right? What is the current status? How many tons have been procured? How many farmers have been impacted? So we did the solutioning story. We fixed the sensing layer first, which is this device was used the for the Visio box, which was used for sensing the chili pods, physical one. We used a mobile phone because everybody today has a mobile phone with a decent RAM, right? Good enough and a good camera, and we deployed the model on it. offline inferencing worked like charm. This is what we implemented. The device, along with the NIR device, and the mobile and the moisture meter was on the field. And I'll actually show you this is the best part, right? This is where we deployed the solution offline. This is a on-field deployment. I'll just take a minute and show you this video. So, you know, this said, this solution deployed, and we worked with digital greens on this project. This is the impact that they had spoken about in the in the report that they had submitted in the World Economic Forum blog. Um, and these are videos of farmers who are actually seeing things happening. Right?
So, Subrat, we have to kind of
Yeah, I'm done.
on that
I'm done.
session.
So it's and misses hit solution work well on the ground. Very good project. Misses were a lot of varieties. The man versus machine issues. Lightweight technology has its limitations. There are a lot more things to do. A lot of things. So here I am, and thank you. If there are any questions.
So thanks a lot, Subrat. We are like running over time, so we won't have questions, but we'll definitely ask the audience offline, and we'll kind of have a separate session to get back on their questions. So
Thank you.
thanks a lot for your time, and it was fascinating to hear how deep tech can be applied in assessing quality of agriculture and improving the value chain. So that brings us to the end of today's session, and I'll just conclude briefly the sessions and set the agenda for tomorrow. So today we had a fascinating day of different sessions. We started with a talk by Narendra and understanding the potential for India's deep tech market, from rockets to emerging AI, and how startups can access the funding, know the market, and kind of build out their story in the deep tech world. Then we had a lot of engaging product discussions with Tapan, Kaustubh, Vijay, as well as Rupa, Sonal, and Maithili. And for me, the key takeaway from the product management as well as building the products to scale session was really like that the startups, right, should also look at the GCC ecosystem in India to see if they can forge go-to-market partnerships, work with some credible and market-established businesses, larger businesses, to validate their products quickly, do some industry startup collaborations that we all of us should kind of encourage, look at the startups in our ecosystem, and then encourage them to quickly validate their technologies using the established companies that some of us are working with, as well as like engaging discussion with Rupa, Sonal, and Maithili on defining clearly the need to clearly define products, customer touch points, as well as talent skills necessary. Another interesting thing that came from the product discussion was, even though your products may be deep tech, don't make it deep and hard for the end user, right, to understand or leverage them. Make it as easy to use as possible. And that's also been a key reason for early success, right, of some of these chat GPT type of technologies, that they are very easy for the end user to use. So let's make our products user friendly and easy to use, even though they are like deep tech inside it. Lastly, right, like we kind of went from good product sessions to also understanding how it has been applied, and not just applied in the high tech kind of domains, but apply in throughout India, right? Like throughout enabling India's infrastructure, right, from data platforms for social goods, which where Raghu had interesting insights on how to take data platforms and digital public goods with the work that they are doing at IISc, and how to scale it to the masses at our Art Park IISc. Also, we had like engaging discussions in intelligent medicine and healthcare, and how deep tech can be applied to both like low resource settings, improving the use of antibiotics and intelligent medicine at the end point of delivery in the tier 2, tier 3 cities, as well as how technology can then be applied in large hospitals, right? Like to kind of create a provider patient partnership, rapidly measuring vitals, as well as take it to the next level in terms of providing care for using AI enabled healthcare. We also kind of looked at some climate tech as well as agri tech work, in which the application was of deep tech was really towards enabling the entire India ecosystem and the quality of life and the development parameters. At climate tech, we saw like how deep tech can be used for water conservation, among all things, which is a burning issue in the country like India, as well as the world, with all the global warming and changes taking place. As well as we saw in the last session how deep tech can be used to improve food quality and enhance our value chains, thereby enabling maybe increased income for the farmers, as well as improved trade and exports from India. So it was a fascinating discussion overall, starting from like venture capital, product management, building, scaling products, to seeing application of the products, not just in high tech areas, but in social good, healthcare, medicine, education, climate tech, as well as health, as well as agri tech, right, and agriculture. So that brings us to the end of the sessions. I would like to really thank our invaluable sponsors, our Nasscom team that is behind the covers doing all the groundwork. I want to thank Optum, who is our healthcare product, EYGDB in the premium category, Intuit, NetApp, SAP, and Microsoft in the platinum category, HP and Odessa in the gold category, and Natixis in the silver category. So thanks to all our sponsors, and without you, this event wouldn't have been possible. So thanks a lot. EU India InnoCenter is our cross-border collaboration partner. So thanks a lot. UR Nest is our investment partner for Future Force 2023. And thanks to Walmart for their support with the badge and the lanyard. So thank you to all the sponsors once again. Also extend our gratitude to all our participants for joining us in this inspiring journey. I hope you're inspired to just not just kind of do research, but also build product from that, drive innovation, empower startups, and shape the future of the technology. Nasscom is here to help you with various initiatives that can help you in your journey, and your collective dedication has not only made this event a resounding success, but is also a testament to a remarkable entrepreneurial mentoring ecosystem that we have, and the innovative spirit that has defined Nasscom and successively taken different ecosystems in India in the tech space to the next level of trajectory. So we are looking to do that the same thing with the deep tech ecosystem and building India's deep tech quotient. So a quick overview of tomorrow's session. So tomorrow we have the ecosystems and the empowerment day. So now you build upon, you learned about research, now you learned about products today. So tomorrow we'll kind of know what is the ecosystem doing to help all of you and to help us to improve India's deep tech quotient. We have sessions around venture funding, research grants, because funding is kind of the core for doing any long running patient deep tech innovations. So we'll look at the funding ecosystem. We'll look at deep tech policies, India's deep tech policies, what kind of shared infrastructure, shared data, shared innovation, open innovation ecosystems are being set up to empower the researchers and the startups to do deep tech innovation. As well as we'll look at some of the talent and the skill building aspects. What can you do to build your talent? What can you do to build your skill? And kind of turbocharge your journey into deep tech research driven innovation, product innovation, and create a vibrant deep tech ecosystem from India in the coming decades. So thanks a lot for patiently listening to all the speakers, and we hope for all of you to get engaged with the ecosystem in some form or the other and take drive the deep tech quotient to a new trajectory. So thank you all.